The halls of the palace echo with the weight of expectation, each step I take reverberating like a drumbeat against my chest. A reminder that my life is no longer only my own. I wander through the corridors, my fingers brushing the gilded frames of ancestral portraits. And in their eyes, I see the ghosts of women who bent to duty and silenced their hearts. My father expects me to marry now, to choose a man of lineage, of honor, of strategic value. But what of love? What of the wild pulse of desire that awakens only when I am alone in my chambers, thinking of him? When the sun spills over the terraces, golden and unrelenting, I find myself staring beyond the garden walls, imagining a world where I could run freely, unbound by protocol, unshackled from the whispers of courtiers and the pressing gaze of my father. His name lingers in my mind, like a forbidden perfume, intoxicating and elusive. I dare not speak it aloud, yet each heartbeat calls it in secret. The thought of him steals the very air from my lungs, leaving me trembling and yearning for a closeness that the world insists is impossible. In the quiet of my private chapel, I kneel and pray, not for obedience, not for clarity, but for a moment in which I might hear him, even if only in a dream. My fingers clutch the rosary, yet it is his name that I murmur between prayers, as though the divine might understand the rebellion of a heart unwilling to bend. The candles flicker with the weight of my longing, shadows dancing across the marble floor, and I wonder if my own reflection in the gilded mirrors looks back with the same desperate age that consumes me inside. There are nights when the moonlight falls upon my balcony like a silver lover, and I imagine him there, beneath the stars, speaking my name with tenderness that belongs to no one else. My lips part in silent sighs, and I ache for a brush of his hand, a fleeting closeness that might turn my world upside down. My father's expectation presses on me like a storm cloud, heavy and suffocating. But it is in these stolen imaginings that I taste the freedom of choice, the thrill of a passion that could undo kingdoms and hearts alike. I think of the courtiers who whisper behind silken fans, speaking of alliances and dowries, and I shiver, knowing that they cannot understand the fire that burns within me. They see a princess, a jewel in the crown, an object to be arranged and displayed, but they do not see the trembling, unguarded heart that dreams of a love forbidden, yet undeniable. If he were here, if he could see me now, I would abandon all protocol and slip into his arms, letting the world dissolve around us in a haze of stolen kisses and whispered confessions. The music of the palace sometimes reaches my ears in the great hall, a haunting melody that makes my pulse quicken. It is the same music I imagine we would dance to, lost in each other's eyes, the world shrinking until only the heat between us remains. I hide behind my veil, pretending to study the steps of diplomacy, while my mind dances with him, tracing the line of his jaw, the softness of his voice, the strength in his touch. I fear that such longing will be my undoing, yet I cannot restrain it. My heart is a traitor to my duties. Letters arrive daily, full of suitors and proposals, parchment heavy with promises of status and wealth. I read them with a polite smile, yet my thoughts are with him, with the quiet moments in which he leans close enough for our breaths to mingle, and the world dissolves into a fragile eternity. I fold each letter carefully, as if by touching them I might transform the obligation into something bearable. Yet I know that duty is a cage gilded with expectation, and love is the bird that beats desperately against its bars. In the garden at dawn, when dew clings to the petals like tears, I imagine his hands among the blooms, strong and gentle, coaxing life from delicate stems, as he would coax laughter from my lips. The wind carries the scent of jasmine, and for a heartbeat I pretend it is his cologne, a memory I have stolen from dreams, an illusion so potent it makes my pulse skip. My father's voice echoes in my memory, reminding me that marriage is a duty, yet my heart resists, beating instead for the one who makes all propriety seem meaningless. I walk the corridors at night, alone with the ghosts of my ancestors, and I wonder if they, too, loved against expectation, if they, too, felt the delicious terror of desiring what was forbidden. My steps echo in the silence, and each echo feels like his whisper, a secret only I can hear. I want to scream his name, to declare my love in defiance, but the walls are stone and the court is ever watchful. Still, the fire within me refuses to be extinguished. Every time I hear the distant clatter of hooves on the marble driveway, my heart leaps, imagining that it is him, arriving with the reckless courage of a man who loves without fear. I press my palm against my chest, trying to steady the storm that rages inside me. The notion of marriage to another is a specter that chills me more than the coldest winter, for my soul already belongs to a man my father does not know, a man who has claimed my secret devotion, as though it were his own. I write in my journals with ink that flows like molten longing, each word a confession I dare not speak. He haunts these pages, his laughter trapped in the loops of my handwriting, his warmth captured in the curves of each letter. The courtiers would see only a dutiful princess, recording thoughts of duty. Yet the pages know the truth, that my heart is captive to a love that cannot be sanctioned, a love that is my rebellion against the world. In the throne room, I bow to protocol, head low and smile poised, while my mind soars elsewhere. I imagine him beside me, whispering courage into my ear, daring me to defy expectation, daring me to embrace the dangerous sweetness of passion. The courtiers watch my every gesture, none knowing that behind the carefully controlled expression lies a tempest of desire, a longing that threatens to spill into the open and shatter all decorum. Even in my dreams, he is present, walking the palace gardens in a cloak of twilight, each step bringing him closer, until I awaken with my heart racing, wishing that dreams could be reality. I feel the phantom of his hands, the warmth of his gaze, the subtle brush of lips against mine, and the ache that follows is both exquisite and unbearable. My father expects me to marry now, yet my soul belongs to a man who exists only in the tender space between fantasy and longing. I imagine letters exchanged in secret, folded in intricate patterns, each word heavy with the weight of forbidden devotion. The thought of his hand tracing mine, the whisper of his voice in my ear, the brush of his lips against my temple. It is a dangerous, delicious torment. The world outside the palace walls may demand alliance and propriety, yet within these imagined letters lies a universe where love alone dictates the rhythm of our hearts. The chandeliers above shimmer with cold light, yet I see in them a reflection of the warmth I feel for him, a glow that cannot be contained by crystal or gold. Every glance from a suitor feels hollow, every compliment feels like a mockery, because my heart has already recognized its counterpart. I am caught between duty and desire, between the world my father envisions and the one my heart has stolen for itself, and the tension thrums through my veins like the most exquisite melody of suspense. Even in the banquet hall, laughter surrounds me, but I hear only the echo of his voice in my mind, each syllable a caress, each word a promise whispered in the secret chambers of longing. I touch the delicate folds of my gown, imagining his fingers tracing the same silk, and I shiver, knowing that no formal arrangement can extinguish the fire that burns quietly, but relentlessly between us. I sometimes imagine sneaking into the stables, where he would wait for me among the horses, the scent of hay and leather mingling with the sweetness of his presence. The world outside might condemn it, the court might gossip, yet in that hidden sanctuary, we could exist purely as ourselves, stripped of titles and expectations, where desire reigns supreme and love knows no compromise. The walls of the palace feel both protective and suffocating, and I dream of tearing them down, brick by gilded brick, until nothing remains between me and the man I cannot name aloud. My reflection in the window seems to mock me, showing a poised princess, while my heart races like a wild stallion, eager and untamed, seeking a freedom that is forbidden yet irresistible. I remember the first moment I realized my heart would never obey, the fleeting brush of his hand, the subtle warmth that lingered far longer than propriety allowed. It was a spark, almost invisible, yet it ignited an inferno within me. Since that day, every glance, every whispered word, every imagined touch has carried the weight of 1,000 unspoken confessions. And I tremble with the knowledge that my father's expectations will never contain what my heart desires. In the library, amidst towering shelves of duty and history, I hide behind books, imagining that each page is a window to him, each word a secret message meant only for my eyes. I read tales of love and loss, devotion and daring, and I find in them the courage to dream, the courage to hope, the courage to one day defy the chains of expectation and follow the rhythm of my own heart. I feel the tension in the air, each time my father's gaze lingers too long, each time a courtier offers a calculated smile, each time a suitor bows and pledges a future I do not want. The suspense of what I might do, the danger of what I might feel, courses through me like an electric current, thrilling and terrifying in equal measure. And all the while, the image of him, the man who has claimed my secret devotion, burns brighter in my mind than any crown or expectation. The morning light filters through the tall palace windows, painting the marble floors with gold, and yet I cannot feel it fully, for my thoughts are wrapped around him like a secret ribbon, binding me in anticipation and yearning. I move through my duties with careful grace, a mask of serenity hiding the wild tempest of my heart. Every polite bow, every measured word, feels like a betrayal of the fire that burns quietly, insistently, for a man my father cannot imagine. Sometimes I wander to the edge of the terrace and lean against the cold stone, imagining that he is there below, waiting, looking up with a smile that is both tender and knowing. The wind tangles my hair, and I let it carry my silent pleas to him, prayers disguised as breezes. I am caught between fear and desire, a princess under the weight of expectation, yet a woman alive with a passion that cannot be chained. At dinner, the room glimmers with gold and crystal, yet my attention drifts to the faint memory of his hand brushing against mine in a fleeting moment of reckless intimacy. The courtly laughter, the polite conversation, they are mere background noise compared to the symphony of longing that plays within me. I feel the heat rise to my cheeks, the pulse quicken in my throat, and I remind myself that no one can see the hunger in my eyes, the tremor in my heart when I think of him. The palace gardens, so meticulously ordered, seem to mock me with their perfection, for love cannot be trimmed or pruned to fit expectation. I imagine running through the hedges, laughing as he chases me, each step a defiance of the world's rules. My father expects me to marry now, yet the thought of surrendering my heart to any other hand is unthinkable. Only his presence can fill the space where my desire resides. Only he can awaken the fierce, unrelenting fire inside me. In my chamber, I hold a miniature portrait I dared to acquire, a secret treasure hidden beneath layers of silk. The lines of his face are sharp yet gentle, commanding yet tender, and I trace them with my fingertips, memorizing each curve as if committing a prayer to memory. The ache in my chest grows, sweet and unbearable, and I long for a moment when he might stand before me, daring me to abandon propriety and surrender to the heart's true call. Evenings are the cruelest, when the world outside my balcony glows with candlelight and laughter, and I am alone with my imagination. I conjure him walking beside me, hands brushing, smiles exchanged in silent defiance of expectation. Every heartbeat feels like a drum, every breath a whisper of what might be, and I am suspended in a delicate tension between longing and fear, between what is demanded of me and what I desire most. The weight of my father's expectations presses heavily upon my shoulders, yet I cannot quell the rebellion within my soul. I imagine sneaking into the stables, where only the horses bear witness, and finding him there, waiting, the warmth of his gaze igniting a fire that threatens to consume all reason. I ache for his closeness, for the subtle thrill of danger in being seen together, even as the walls of duty close ever tighter around me. When the court dances in the grand hall, I watch from the balcony, imagining that the music is meant for us, and that in a single stolen moment, I could descend and take his hand. The fantasy pulses through me, vibrant and intoxicating, and I tremble with the awareness that such a daring act could shatter my world. Yet the thought of him, the pull of his eyes and the promise in his smile, is stronger than fear, stronger than expectation, stronger than any chain my father might impose. I keep a diary hidden beneath my mattress, filled with words that would make the most seasoned poet weep. Each line is a confession of the hunger that consumes me, the reckless joy of imagining him, the bittersweet ache of knowing our love must remain secret. I pour myself into these pages, letting my hand capture what my lips cannot speak, and the act of writing feels like a rebellion, as beautiful and dangerous as the man who inspires it. At night, when the palace sleeps, I steal to the highest tower and gaze at the stars, imagining that they are his eyes upon me, watching, guiding, and promising a love that defies expectation. The cold wind wraps around me, yet I feel a warmth that comes only from desire, from anticipation, from the knowledge that a man exists who makes the world feel infinite, even within these walls of gilded duty. I imagine the letters we could exchange in secret, each word a spark, each phrase a caress. They would be our lifeline, a conduit for the fire that consumes us both. The courtiers would see only decorum and careful handwriting, but I would know the truth that our hearts beat in tandem, that our love is alive even if hidden, that our desire is a force no father's command could suppress. In my dreams, he walks beside me through gardens that exist only in our minds, and every glance carries unspoken promises. The thrill of his touch, the subtle brush of his hand against mine, sets my imagination ablaze. I awaken with my heart racing, longing for a reality where such closeness is not forbidden, where desire is not a crime, where love is not a treason against expectation. I sometimes picture him beneath my balcony at midnight, the moonlight casting silver on his face, the shadows concealing our embrace from prying eyes. I imagine descending the stairs, a daring smile on my lips, and letting the world dissolve in a single stolen kiss. The thought sends shivers down my spine, a dangerous delight that makes me tremble and ache in equal measure. Even the most mundane moments in the palace are colored by him. The flicker of candlelight on my morning mirror, the distant echo of footsteps in the hallway, the delicate scent of jasmine drifting through the air. Each detail becomes a thread that binds me to him, a reminder that love can exist even when forbidden, that passion can thrive even under the heaviest expectations. The anticipation is a constant companion, a delicious tension that makes every glance, every gesture, every whispered word carry the weight of possibility. I feel the suspense in my bones, a trembling certainty that our paths are entwined, even if the world insists otherwise. My father expects me to marry now, yet my heart belongs to him entirely, and the conflict is both torturous and sublime. When I close my eyes, I see the brush of his lips against mine, soft and fleeting, the promise of a fire that could consume us both. I imagine the world fading, leaving only the heat of our closeness, the trembling of hands intertwined, the thrill of a love that cannot exist in daylight. Even as reality presses in, I cannot help but surrender to the intoxicating possibilities of imagination. I often pace my chambers, letting my mind wander through memories and fantasies alike, feeling the pulse of anticipation that only he can awaken. The walls seem to close in, yet in my heart, he moves freely, untamed and bright, a beacon of longing in the shadows of expectation. Every breath, every heartbeat is a silent plea for a moment, a stolen glance, a whispered confession of what cannot yet be spoken. I dream of whispered rendezvous in secret gardens, where the air is thick with the scent of roses and desire. The thrill of being caught, the delicious danger of breaking rules, makes my pulse quicken. I imagine him close, fingers grazing mine, eyes searching mine for permission and surrender. The world outside ceases to exist in such moments, leaving only us and the fire that cannot be contained. In the quiet moments before dawn, I sometimes imagine writing him a letter that will never be sent, pouring every emotion, every tremor, every longing into ink. I fold it carefully, imagining the day when it might reach him, imagining the look in his eyes as he reads words meant for no one but him. The act is both comforting and torturous, a secret rebellion that keeps my heart alive in the midst of suffocating expectation. The anticipation of seeing him again is a constant ache, a delicious torment that fills my chest and leaves me both trembling and restless. I imagine the moment our eyes meet, the unspoken understanding that passes between us, the thrill of being caught between longing and desire. My father expects me to marry now, yet in that instant, all expectation fades, leaving only the pull of our hearts toward one another. I sometimes imagine our first whispered confessions, the soft tremor in his voice, as he admits what I already know. The thought sends shivers down my spine, makes my lips part in silent anticipation, and leaves me longing for a reality that is still out of reach. The suspense is exquisite, a slow, burning fire that both frightens and delights, a constant reminder that desire cannot be silenced. Even as I prepare to meet yet another suitor, I feel his presence in the shadows of my mind, a comforting and dangerous reminder that my heart belongs elsewhere. Each polite smile, each measured word, is a performance, a thin veil over the tempest inside me. I ache for him, for the stolen moments that feel like eternity, for the love that exists only in secret, yet dominates every thought and dream. I imagine holding his hand in the quiet of the palace corridors, feeling the strength and warmth of him against my palm. The world may insist on propriety, but my imagination allows us freedom, allows us a stolen intimacy that exists beyond the reach of expectation. The fire between us is relentless, unyielding, a force that cannot be tamed by gilded walls or whispered commands. The palace seems quieter at night, yet the silence is deafening, filled with my own heartbeats that echo like drums of forbidden longing. I pace my chambers, restless, imagining him waiting beyond these walls, daring me to abandon all caution, to surrender to the fire that burns so fiercely between us. The very thought makes my breath catch, my palms sweat, and my heart race with the exquisite thrill of danger. I picture him leaning against the balcony rail, the moonlight glinting in his hair, eyes searching for mine, as if he knows every secret of my heart. My pulse quickens, and I feel the ache of desire coil tightly in my chest. I long to descend those stairs, to let the world dissolve around us, to feel the brush of his lips against mine without fear or expectation. Yet I hesitate, for the weight of my father's expectations is a tangible chain that threatens to shatter everything. At night, the chandeliers shimmer with a pale glow, reflecting in the polished floors like 1,000 sparks, and I imagine each spark is a tiny heartbeat of his, calling to mine across the distance. I move through the palace as though in a trance, every sound a whisper, every shadow a reminder of the danger of being caught longing for a man deemed forbidden. The thrill of anticipation consumes me, exquisite in its intensity, unbearable in its sweetness. I dream of running to him through hidden passages, the thrill of clandestine freedom coursing through my veins. The brush of our hands, the closeness of our bodies, the electric tension in every glance. All of it is more intoxicating than any jewel or crown the palace could offer. My father expects me to marry now, yet I cannot imagine another, for he has claimed the entirety of my heart, leaving duty to wither in his shadow. Even in the grandest of halls, I feel his presence in the spaces between light and shadow. I imagine a fleeting touch on my wrist, a whispered word that makes the blood in my veins catch fire. Every polite conversation, every orchestrated bow, feels hollow compared to the vibrant reality of him in my mind. The suspense is delicious, torturous, like standing on the edge of a cliff, knowing the fall will be terrifying and sublime. I sometimes hide in the library, where the scent of old books mixes with the faint trace of flowers from the garden, and I imagine him there with me. Our hands brush over pages, our eyes meet in secret understanding, and the world outside ceases to exist. The tension thrums in my chest, a relentless rhythm of desire and fear, a secret that lives only in moments that are ours alone. The letters I imagine writing to him are filled with the raw truth of my heart, words that could ignite flames or destroy worlds. I dream of the day he might read them, tracing the lines with fingers that tremble as mine do now. Every unsent sentence is a whisper of rebellion, a testament to a love that cannot exist openly, but refuses to be denied. When I look at the portraits of ancestors long gone, I wonder if they, too, were lovers bound by expectation, hearts ignited and constrained by duty. I see their faces and feel their silent understanding, a spectral chorus cheering my rebellion in whispers. My father expects me to marry now, yet I ache to defy the pattern, to embrace a love that is mine and mine alone, even if the world cannot approve. I imagine our first stolen kiss, brief yet searing, electric enough to make the stars tremble. I see him leaning close, the warmth of his lips against mine, and the world falls away into a haze of longing and satisfaction. My pulse races, my breath catches, and I feel both terrified and exhilarated, suspended in the delicious torment of anticipation. In my chamber, I touch the delicate fabrics of my gown, and imagine his hands tracing the same silk, feeling it as if it were my own skin. The sensation sends shivers down my spine, a ghostly prelude to what I yearn to experience in reality. The suspense is unbearable, yet it is this very tension that makes desire so intoxicating, so alive, so impossible to ignore. I picture the soft brush of his hand against my cheek, the tender pressure that speaks more than words ever could. I close my eyes and feel it, as though it is already real. The warmth of his touch, a balm to the age that grows with every suitor and proposal that my father insists I entertain. My heart belongs to him, and every attempt to turn it elsewhere is met with silent rebellion. Even the scent of the palace, incense, flowers, polished wood, reminds me of him, of secret moments we might share in hidden corridors. Each breath carries longing. Each glance at a shadow sparks memory, and I am caught in a delicate suspense between what is demanded and what my heart desires. The tension is exquisite, a living thing that coils tighter with every passing day. I imagine the thrill of being caught, our eyes meeting in silent acknowledgement, hearts pounding in tandem. The danger is irresistible, and I long for a world where such intimacy can exist openly. Yet the very impossibility of it makes each fantasy sharper, each imagined touch more electric, each whispered confession more intoxicating than reality could ever offer. At twilight, I walk the terrace imagining him beside me, our steps synchronized in secret harmony. The wind teases my hair, the last rays of sun glint on his imagined silhouette, and I tremble with the ache of desire, longing for a moment that may never come. The suspense of anticipation, the delicious uncertainty of what might happen, fills my chest with both joy and agony. I dream of hidden gardens, gates barred to the world, where we might exist only for each other. The scent of roses, the softness of the grass underfoot, the warmth of his hands holding mine. All of it pulses through my imagination like a vivid, living thing. My father expects me to marry now, yet I am entirely, irreversibly his in every heartbeat, every whisper, every unspoken longing. Even in my most public moments, I feel him there, a phantom presence that electrifies my senses. Every polite nod, every carefully measured smile, is a performance I cannot abandon. Yet my mind is ablaze with the secret knowledge of our shared longing. The suspense is relentless, a fire that refuses to be quenched, a delicate ache that both tortures and delights. I sometimes imagine running to him in the moonlight, the palace asleep, our steps light, hearts pounding in secret rhythm. The thrill of being seen, the danger of being caught, only heightens the intensity of desire. I ache to abandon caution, to surrender to the magnetic pull of him, to allow our longing to exist fully, even for a fleeting instant. At night, when the stars spill silver across the heavens, I whisper his name into the darkness, imagining that the wind will carry it to him. The sound of it, even in solitude, makes my heart leap, a promise of intimacy that exists beyond the reach of expectation. My father expects me to marry now, yet my devotion is unshakable, my desire untamed, my heart entirely his. I envision the moment our eyes meet, the silent electricity that passes between us like lightning, leaving us both trembling with anticipation. The stolen intimacy of that glance, the unspoken promises, the forbidden tension. It is a heady mixture that leaves me both dizzy and elated. Each imagined encounter feels more real than reality, a secret realm where love reigns supreme. I dream of letters folded into intricate shapes, each one a secret lifeline between us, filled with words that speak only to the fire that consumes us. Even though they may never be delivered, even though the world forbids our union, the act of writing binds me to him in ways that duty cannot sever. The suspense, the hidden devotion, is a thrill I cherish above all else. The very thought of his lips on mine, soft yet insistent, sends shivers through my entire being. I imagine the world fading, leaving only the heat of our closeness, the rhythm of our hearts entwined, the intoxicating sensation of love that defies every rule and expectation. I am suspended between desire and fear, anticipation and longing, a captive of a passion that will not be denied. Even the courtiers, with their careful smiles and whispered gossip, cannot pierce the world I have created for him and me. The palace is full of expectation, yet within my imagination, I exist freely, fully, unrestrained, able to indulge in the dangerous sweetness of forbidden love. My father expects me to marry now, yet in my mind, he does not exist, and only we remain. I sometimes imagine walking hand in hand through the corridors, fingertips grazing, eyes locked, hearts racing. The world may demand obedience, yet in these stolen moments of imagination, I defy it all. Each step is a thrill, each glance a silent confession, each heartbeat a declaration that love cannot be confined by expectation or duty. The suspense is unbearable, exquisite, a delicious torment that makes every breath tremble, every thought ache with desire. I feel him everywhere, in the air I breathe, in the silken folds of my gown, in the whispered rustle of curtains, in the silver light of the moon. He is constant, unyielding, the fire that refuses to be tamed. I imagine our final embrace, the culmination of longing, the fulfillment of secret devotion. My father's expectations may weigh heavily, but in that imagined moment, they are powerless. I surrender entirely to the rush of emotion, to the thrill of passion, to the exquisite terror and joy of loving freely, in the only way that truly matters. Even as dawn approaches, and reality threatens to reclaim me, I hold on to the memory, the imagination, the unspoken promise. My father expects me to marry now, yet my heart has already chosen, and in the secret chambers of longing and desire, I am wholly, irrevocably his. The suspense lingers, a quiet fire that will never die, a love that will endure, untamed and eternal. The dawn arrives, pale and hesitant, and I linger by the window, imagining him waiting outside, the first light glinting on his hair. My chest aches with the anticipation of a touch that does not come, a gaze that might never meet mine. Yet even in absence, he inhabits every thought, every pulse, a secret sovereign of my heart. The palace hums with life, but I exist in a fragile world of stolen moments and imagined closeness. I wander through the corridors, tracing the ornate carvings with my fingertips, imagining that he carved them there himself, leaving traces of his presence in places no one else can see. The walls of duty and expectation close in, yet my heart defies them, racing at the mere thought of a secret smile exchanged, a hand brushed against mine, in the fleeting shadow of circumstance. Even the ritual of breakfast feels empty, the clatter of silverware hollow without him. I imagine his hand brushing mine, as I reach for a cup, the warmth of contact lingering in my memory. Each imagined touch sends shivers down my spine, ignites the fire of longing, and makes me aware, painfully, that no suitor here could awaken even a fraction of the passion that lives in secret for him alone. In the garden, dew sparkles like 1,000 tiny hearts, and I imagine him there, kneeling among the blooms, fingertips tracing petals as tenderly as he might trace my cheek. The thought makes my knees weak, my lips part in silent desire. The suspense of what might be, if I dare to descend the staircase, if I dare to cross the threshold of propriety, is both terrifying and intoxicating. The library offers sanctuary, yet even here, the echoes of his imagined presence transform every book into a vessel of longing. I read passages of love and betrayal, devotion and daring, and each word resonates like a whisper of him beside me. I close my eyes, letting the imagination take flight, feeling his warmth, hearing the cadence of his voice, tasting the delicious danger of a connection the world forbids. I sometimes imagine the servants as conspirators, their silence allowing me to slip through the palace unnoticed, to find him waiting in the shadows. The thrill of secrecy electrifies me, makes my heart pound, as if each beat is a signal to him. The ache of anticipation is unbearable yet exquisite, a bittersweet tension that makes every thought of him more vivid, more irresistible. Even at court, surrounded by grandeur and expectation, I feel him in the corners of my vision, a shadowy figure moving through my mind. Every polite smile, every gentle bow, is a mask hiding the wildfire that consumes me. The suspense is constant, a slow, burning hunger that refuses to be tamed, a delicious torment that leaves me trembling with desire and longing. I imagine letters exchanged in secret, folded in intricate patterns, each one a tiny confession, a stolen fragment of our devotion. I trace the words with my fingers in fantasy, imagining him reading them, feeling the tremor of my longing as vividly as I feel it in the solitude of my chamber. Even in silence, even in separation, we are bound by an invisible thread, a private defiance of expectation. The palace at night is a labyrinth of possibility. I picture us slipping through hidden doors, past marble columns and gilded tapestries, every step a daring defiance of duty. The air is thick with anticipation, and I imagine his hand finding mine, our fingers intertwining, a subtle rebellion against the world outside. The thought sends heat coursing through me, an exquisite ache that refuses to be ignored. In my dreams, he speaks to me in a language only my heart understands, whispers promises that the world forbids, and I awaken with the ghost of his words on my lips. I reach for him in the darkness, imagining that he responds, that our closeness is real and palpable, that the suspense of waiting is tempered by the certainty of our connection, no matter how secret. Even the palace mirrors betray me, reflecting not the poised princess expected of me, but a woman consumed with desire, trembling with the thrill of imagined closeness. I trace my reflection with my fingertips, imagining that he stands behind me, hand upon shoulder, breath warm against my neck. The fantasy is both torturous and intoxicating, leaving me suspended between reality and longing. I picture the moment we might finally confess everything, in a hidden garden where the world cannot intrude. The suspense builds with every imagined step, every exchanged glance, every beat of a heart caught between fear and desire. The world may demand obedience, but in this fantasy love is sovereign, and our hearts, finally, may speak without restraint. I imagine the thrill of hiding in plain sight, exchanging secret smiles while courtiers whisper and gossip. Each stolen glance, Each fleeting touch of the hand becomes a universe in itself, a moment of rebellion as vivid as any spoken declaration. The suspense of being caught, the delicious tension between propriety and desire, is a constant pulse beneath my skin. The scent of roses, of jasmine, of the palace itself reminds me of him, of hidden moments, of imagined embraces. Every inhalation carries a tremor of longing, a whisper of possibility. My father expects me to marry now, yet my heart rebels, insisting that love cannot be measured by duty, that desire cannot be confined by protocol. I picture him waiting by the fountain in the courtyard, the water catching the moonlight like 1,000 shimmering promises. I imagine descending the steps toward him, heart racing, breath catching, every nerve alight with anticipation. The suspense of what may happen, of the first daring touch, the first forbidden kiss, fills me with both terror and rapture. Even the mundane tasks of the day are charged with anticipation, every brush of my sleeve, every sound in the corridor, every echo of footsteps reminding me that he could be there, waiting, watching, calling me closer. The tension is delicious, a fire that refuses to be extinguished, a constant reminder that love, once awakened, cannot be denied. I imagine our hands brushing under the table at a banquet, a secret communion that no one else can see. The electricity of that imagined contact sends tremors through my body, a pulse of fire and longing that eclipses even the grandest feast or finest jewel. The suspense, the danger, the hidden intimacy, all of it is intoxicating beyond measure. In my chamber, I lie awake imagining whispered conversations, confessions spoken only in the dark. I feel the warmth of his presence, the pressure of his gaze, the ache of desire that stretches across the night. Each imagined moment is a stolen eternity, a rebellion against expectation, a secret world where only our hearts exist. I imagine slipping into his arms beneath the moon, feeling the press of his chest against mine, the warmth of his lips against my temple. The suspense is unbearable yet exquisite, the thrill of being seen together, the danger of being caught, making every imagined second more intense, more vivid, more alive. Even in the most public ceremonies, I feel him beside me in spirit, a phantom of desire that makes every glance, every gesture, every heartbeat electric. The world demands obedience, yet my heart is a conspirator, beating only for him, plotting secret rebellions in the silence of my mind. I picture the stolen moments we might share in the gardens at dawn, the world yet to stir, the first light glinting on petals and water, the air thick with possibility. Every imagined touch, every brush of fingers, every whispered word is a rebellion against expectation, a testament to a love that cannot be denied. The palace halls seem endless, yet I imagine running through them with him, laughter echoing like music, footsteps light and free. Every imagined step is a thrill, every glance a spark, every heartbeat a declaration of desire and defiance. My father expects me to marry now, yet my heart belongs elsewhere entirely. I imagine letters hidden beneath floorboards, beneath cushions, beneath anything that might conceal our devotion. Each word is a spark, each phrase a flame, each line a secret declaration of love that exists beyond expectation, beyond duty, beyond the world. The suspense of discovery, the thrill of secrecy, is as intoxicating as the imagined embrace itself. Even the faintest touch of wind, the smallest rustle of curtains, carries the phantom of him, makes me shiver with anticipation, ache with longing, tremble with desire. My father expects me to marry now, yet I am untamed, untethered in my heart, bound only to the man who claims my secret devotion entirely. I imagine the crescendo, the moment when our longing can no longer be contained, when passion overcomes propriety, and the world falls away. The suspense builds to a fever pitch, every heartbeat a drum, every breath a whisper, every nerve alight with the electricity of forbidden love. It is a moment I live for, even if only in imagination, even if the world would never allow it. The stars above seem to pulse with our desire, a celestial audience to a love that defies every command. I imagine the night itself holding its breath, watching us in secret, witnessing the intensity of hearts that cannot obey. My father expects me to marry now, yet the universe itself conspires with me, in imagination if nowhere else, to honor the love that burns unrelenting and eternal.